Welcome to Expats Listen with Ryan and Liz, the podcast where we share the ups and downs, struggles, and celebrations of living abroad.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Liz.
And this has been a really good week. I think we've spent a lot of time hanging out with Mr. Henry, visiting interesting places, spending time with some cool friends, and happy to be here today with you, Liz.
Yeah, I think it's been quite a busy week, and yesterday was the first time that I went to bed super early, and I feel like it's such a life hack, guys. I want to share this with everyone. Sleep. What a thing. When you actually get proper sleep, I feel like a new person. Like, wow, I am ready to take on the day.
Yeah, we've definitely hit that age where a good night's sleep is worth a lot more than it used to be.
So, Ryan, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about needing to book holidays and trips home and how confusing and difficult and weird sometimes that process can be living that expat life.
Yeah, I think this has been difficult for me since I moved abroad in 2010. And there's something about leaving that your friends and family expect every single time that you have a vacation, you're going to go and visit them, because why wouldn't you? The first place that I moved abroad was actually Australia, which might be the furthest place away from New York that you could possibly go. And when I went there, I did want to see my friends and family back in New York as much as I could, but I was in Australia and I was working full time and I had limited vacation days. And I remember there was always this tension of, can you take a vacation for yourself? Like, can you just go away for a long weekend and take a day off work for that? Or by doing that, am I like doing wrong to my family? Like, will my mom be mad if I take this little vacation and don't spend that extra day with her where I could have? What about my aunts and my uncles and my cousins and my friends and like all of these people that you need to see when you're taking these trips? And they need to be longer trips in order to do that, but you don't have that many days. And when you're working full time and you're trying to balance everything, I feel like it can just be really difficult mentally to wrap your head around how to schedule vacation.
Well, I think I'm actually very impressed that it's such an existential and abstract question for you with regards to what your family's expectations are. Because from my side, it's quite an easy question and answer. Yes, they do expect you to come and visit them any moment that you're not working or doing something important. It's not even a question of whether or not you're able to go on holiday or go and try something new and different somewhere else. It's an immediate, oh, so you've got some time off. What time should I pick you up at the airport?
Yeah. And I think it's balancing that. I think you can't expect that every single vacation of your life is going to be a trip home, but you also need to go home. And I think I don't want it to ever come across that I don't want to visit home and that I don't want to visit my friends and family. But sometimes you also want to relax a little bit. And sometimes you want to explore and go on an adventure and be somewhere new and eat new food. And for people like us who love travel as much as we really, truly love travel, it can be really difficult to say, okay, I'm using all of my vacation days this year to visit home again. And I'm not going to see anything I haven't seen. And I'm not going to go anywhere I haven't gone. And I'm not going to do anything I haven't done because I'm just going to go and visit these people.
Yeah, I think that our family, when they're imagining our lives here away from them, they're imagining that we're actually doing that every day, exploring and going on adventures and doing interesting things all the time. And they don't actually really consider the idea that the most prevalent part of our time is spent doing day-to-day boring work life kinds of things. And so when we are like, okay, we want to go on a holiday, they're thinking, yeah, but you've been on a holiday since you've left home. So what are you talking about?
There's also the mental gymnastics of these trips home where it's not just You go and visit your parents' house and you sleep in your childhood bedroom and everything is really relaxing and you're just hanging out. No, these trips home are busy and packed. I know for me, it's always this spreadsheet of, okay, this person is only available on Tuesday for lunch, and that person is only available after 8 p.m. on Thursday, but they live very close to each other. So I'm going to have to go there and then I'm going to have to come back. And New York is one of those places where everyone is just far from each other. To get from Brooklyn to Queens can take you an hour. To get from Long Island, where some of my family lives, back to the city. I have friends who live in New Jersey now. All of these trips take time, half an hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And you really need to look at who you're going to see and when you're going to see them and put it together into this matrix of some kind of level of efficiency in order to see all of the people that you want to see and to spend time with them when they're free. And the older we get, the harder it is. When I was 25 and taking a trip back to New York, I feel like it was a lot easier because it would just be, let's go to this bar, and everyone would just come to the bar and that would be fine. But now my friends have families and small children, and the scheduling is so much more difficult than it's ever been before. And it really is like, they can't do Tuesday. That's just impossible. Tuesday is impossible because I've got 16 things on. And yes, I'm going to be in Brooklyn right next to their house, but I can't see them on Tuesday. So I need to figure out what else I'm going to do. And then I'm going to come back. And I think it takes me weeks to figure out exactly when I'm going to be able to see each person and where to go and all of that. And it feels stressful, to be honest. And I feel a lot of guilt when I'm not able to see someone. And I feel extra guilt if I wasn't able to see someone on my last trip. And now I'm going back to New York and I'm still not going to see them. I feel terrible. And I feel like I really try to move heaven and earth in order to get the schedule to work in a way where I can see all of the people that I feel I owe my time to, because I love these people and I want to spend time with these people. And it is difficult sometimes.
Do you think that's a healthy way of looking at it in terms of needing to move heaven and earth to see people when you're the one that's going there?
Of course it's not healthy. I never thought it was, but my guilt runs deep, Ryan.
No, I mean, I think that's why this is a big conversation for us today. I just think that it's an interesting dynamic where we go to these places. It's not just you. There's so many of us who do it. I do it when I go to South Africa. But we make these huge trips and we go out of our way to find time to spend with people around their schedules, around whatever it is that's happening in their lives. And I'm happy to do it. But I think that one of the things that comes up for me is not necessarily guilt, but sometimes a certain level of disappointment that I need to work as hard as I need to spend time with those people when I'm the one that's actually making so much more of an effort. And I find that difficult because I do want to spend time with them, but it's almost tempered by a little bit of that disappointment that I'm needing to bend over backwards to put in that effort to make that time so that it's on their schedule.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel the other way. I feel like it's all my fault. And I feel like I left. It was my choice to leave. They stayed. If I had stayed like they did, then I would be able to see them on whenever they wanted. And I could see them on their schedule and we could make it work and it would be so much easier. But I didn't. I left. And because I left, I feel like it's completely on me. And that this responsibility is, if not 100%, 99% mine of making it work to see them.
So you did something wrong by leaving?
I think maybe I feel that way. I think maybe deep down I feel like the common life, the expected life, the expectation that was on me was to stay. And if I had done that the way that all of them had, then this would be so easy. But I didn't do that. So It was my choice and it was my fault.
Yeah, look, it's a tough way of looking at it, I think, if you find yourself feeling like you've done something wrong by spreading your wings and living the life you wanted to live. But I guess, we all have different feelings about having left home. Maybe it'll be something that we talk about in the future. But when I consider what it is that I owe people back home in terms of visitation, in terms of activities, even general correspondence, I tend to find that distance between us is not necessarily just geographical. I think there is more of a distance between us in terms of relationship because we don't spend that time together anymore because I am so far away. And so now I feel as though I'm not really as obligated as I used to be when I lived there. Because if I lived down the road, I feel as though I should be seeing them more regularly. Whereas now when I live on another continent, I feel as though I'm in your country, I'm in your town, I'm in your general area. I feel as though we should do something because we're close enough to get it done, but I'm not really losing any sleep over us not making it work because I've come this far to your area, and if you can't meet me 10 meters down the road from your house, then I don't know if that's on me anymore.
I understand, and I don't agree. And I think for me, it's really the opposite because I feel like if I were down the road and if I were living there, I wouldn't feel that obligation to go to my friend's son's soccer game on a random Saturday because I could go to any other soccer game on any other Saturday. But I'm only there for 2 Saturdays of the whole year. So now I feel like I really have to go.
Well, I think it's clear who would be the good cop and who would be the bad cop between us. So at least that's established between us and for anyone who happens to be listening to this podcast.
But definitely interested to hear what you guys think. And do you agree more with Ryan that when you go home, your friends should be making the effort? Or do you agree more with me thinking that you're the one who left, so you're the one who has to make all the plans and put in all the effort?
I've really got my thumbs held and my fingers crossed that the general perspective is somewhere in the middle.
I hope so too, because I feel like maybe I am bending over backwards and trying to move heaven and earth a bit too much, and maybe Ryan has a point.
And maybe I need to be more understanding that other people have got their routines set up and they've got established lives and they can't always step away from that to hang out with me when I happen to be in their country.
The next part of this that I think we really need to talk about is money. And when you're scheduling trips to visit home or when you're scheduling vacations to relax or explore or do anything else, money is a huge factor. And I think that a lot of people believe, oh, you're living abroad, you must be so rich. And you must have so much money now. And it must be so easy for you to just pay for things.
Oh, it's such a complicated topic. And I think maybe it might require a lot more discussion. But maybe I would step in as a member of 2 minorities, which is brown and African. And I will say that the relationship between your family and friends and money and international living is very complicated because it's almost embarrassing to say, like I'm feeling nervous to talk about it because a lot of people don't realize that in browner communities, a lot of children are part of parents' retirement plans, that you have this child, you take care of this child grows up, this child is successful because of the opportunities afforded by the parent, and then once that child is successful and is earning money, they are now then responsible for the care of that parent and the home and the household and anyone else who happens to turn up because the parent might think that that's where resources should be allocated. And it's really difficult because it becomes even more hard to shirk that obligation because you're living in Europe or America or Australia or the UK or wherever it is that you happen to be, and you're earning in a more powerful currency, and you're living this very fancy lifestyle, at least in their eyes. And you now need to take into consideration that everyone's got this expectation that you are able to jump on an aeroplane, traverse the entire planet to come there. And while you're there, you're also spending money on everyone. And they are thinking, well, he or she lives in Europe and everything is rocking for them. They're living in the ultimate luxury. They go to different places and all of these weird things that people imagine. And then you're just left standing there basically with an empty wallet in your home country, trying to uphold the weird impression that those people have got of what your life really is.
And I think when you go on vacation, like holidays, it emphasizes that point even more to the people who don't know the numbers behind things. So for example, Badajoz is a city in Spain that Ryan and I really enjoy. And you can drive there in about 2 hours on the non-toll road, an hour and a half if you take the toll road. And we'll take the dog and we'll go for the day. And that costs us maybe 15 euro in gas for that trip to Spain. And when we go there, yeah, maybe we'll have lunch, but it would only be maybe 20 euro for lunch. So maybe we've spent 30, 35 euro for the day. But we went to Spain that day and it was nice and we enjoyed it. When people from back home hear, oh, we just went to Spain for the day, I think they're thinking that we dropped hundreds of euros and had this luxury experience. And that's just not what happened.
Yeah, the concept of Spain to a lot of people in my community is very strange because for some people it means, oh, you went to Spain, so you traveled thousands of kilometers to get to this very exotic and fancy location. That must be the life. Or you've got people who have no idea what going to Spain means because it's just another word and just another place, and they don't really understand it other than to know that, oh, this guy and his wife and his dog went on an international adventure for the weekend. What a life those two people are living. And in both of those cases, you really still are left trying to find interesting and weird words to express what our lives are really like. And to this day, I don't think I've really been successful, if I'm honest.
How can you describe something that someone's never experienced in a way that they can understand it? I know for me personally, it's always really difficult to understand when you just have no experience in that thing whatsoever. For people who, in my case, have never left the US, in your case, have never left South Africa, their idea of what it is to live in another country is basically the same as living on Mars.
That's true. And you can't blame people for it. I don't think that anyone's doing anything on purpose. I don't think that there's any ill will or malice in however it is that people try to empathize with us in terms of how we live our lives. But I do feel as though there's often a disconnect with empathy sometimes of trying to understand the bigger picture that we present with regards to what our lives are like, because there's an assumption that how we live isn't very close to how normal people live, albeit in a different country. And not having that understanding sometimes creates very uncomfortable and difficult and pressurized situations, which we often are in when we try to interact and spend time with those people.
So let's end this on a higher note. What are your absolute favorite things about visiting South Africa?
I don't know if that's a good question. The reason being that I would answer with everything that I have ever loved about South Africa, and I don't know if this is the time or place for it. But in terms of what I look forward to going home and experiencing is first of all, is spending time with my nieces. I have 4 beautiful nieces, and they are all growing up so quickly, too quickly, in fact. And because we only go back so seldom, maybe once or twice a year, if we're lucky, I'm really only experiencing their lives almost in snapshots. And it really is special to go back and see how each one of them have progressed as they've grown older and becoming the people that they're eventually going to become. So my nieces eating a burger at Spur restaurant. I want you all to know that it's not a good restaurant. The burger isn't even particularly very good, but it is dripping with nostalgia and good memories and the South African spirit. And eating a lot of South African Indian food. A lot of people don't know this about the huge community of Indian people in South Africa who have a very unique culture that is based on original Indian culture, but we have specific kinds of spices and foods which you cannot find anywhere else in the world, and I miss it terribly. I have some amazing aunties and cousins who are always happy to cook for us whenever we're there. I think Liz gets overloaded with the spice levels, but it really is just a taste of home and comfort for me. And in terms of the specific food that we have out in South Africa from the Indian community, my favorite is lamb biryani cooked specifically by my mom, because there is nothing on this planet that I hope for more than that taste in terms of comfort and home and warmth and love. And I'm super grateful that I do get to eat that biryani every time I do go home. And then the last 2 things I feel are more as a result of what I miss while I live in Portugal specifically. And one is laughter in society and community. I had no idea that when I left South Africa, that South Africa, amongst other countries, absolutely love to laugh. The people of South Africa love to laugh, and they laugh everywhere, and they're looking for a joke constantly. And in public, when you walk anywhere, you're always going to hear someone laughing. When you interact with anyone, it's always just a matter of time before someone cracks a joke. And I absolutely love that, and I miss that very much. And the last thing that I miss the most is warm ocean water. We live in Portugal, where we're in the Atlantic zone, and it is super cold water. Amazing beaches. We love to surf. It's an incredible experience to be here. But in South Africa, you've got the same thing, but with warm water, albeit with sharks. But let's ignore that little bit. And you, what do you miss from home? What do you look forward to when we go back to the United States?
It's the same as you in that the people are number one. I have 2 nieces who are getting bigger every day. And like you said, you don't really get the same kind of interaction when you have a video chat with them as when you're actually with them. And it's so wonderful to spend real time and to play and to laugh and to see the people that they're becoming, because they're getting to the age where they have personalities and thoughts and feelings, and you can ask them a question and they really have a conversation about what that means to them. And I think it's really great that you have that experience in person that you really wouldn't get in the same way over the phone. Also, seeing the older people in my life, I think, is really important. My dad is getting older. There's aunts and uncles that are getting older, even the parents of my friends who I've been close with my whole life. I think it's really important to me that I get to see these people and spend time with these people, because you really never know.
Life is short and time is moving. And I think that's one of the more sobering things that we do encounter whenever we do go back, because if you're watching someone change one moment at a time over the course of years, it really does stand out a lot more than it does when you're watching them on a day-to-day basis, because I think it affects us too. I mean, I'm sure they're thinking exactly the same thing when we go back, where it's, wow, Ryan is looking certainly at least a year older because, well, the last time they saw me was a year ago.
Yeah.
And we're looking back at them in exactly the same way. But also, as time has gone by, we're all getting older. And I think there's that level of sadness, I think, that I carry, where I do watch members of older generations entering into those twilight phases of life. And it's a subtle, not even a subtle, I think it's a obvious reminder of mortality and time moving forward, irregardless of how we feel about it. But I feel grateful every time I do get to spend that time with those people too.
For sure. The happier things that I love in the US, Broadway. Look, when I was a kid, my brother and I were super nerds, so we got A's on every report card for everything. But my parents made a rule that for every A we got to see a Broadway show. So I think it helped our super nerddom because we really wanted to see those Broadway shows. So Broadway was always a reward when I was a kid. And I think as an adult, I still see Broadway as such a gift and such a reward for being alive and getting to enjoy live theater right in front of you. I really love the last minute tickets that you can buy. I sign up for all the lotteries, the cheap tickets. I will see anything and everything. I'm just happy to be there, Broadway goer, every single time.
What's your favorite Broadway production?
Oh, come on. It's Hamilton. Hamilton it's amazing. When Hamilton first came out, it was when my mom was going through chemotherapy and through her cancer journey. And I used it as a coping mechanism in a lot of ways. I memorized every single word to every single song. And my friend and I got tickets to see the original cast. And I think we cried the entire time, but it was this joyful, amazing experience. One of the songs is Room Where It Happens, and that you get to be in the room where it happens. And I think we just looked at each other and bawled because we were in the room where it happens. And I felt so lucky to be there and to experience that. And yeah, I think living in Portugal, where there is some live theater, but most of it's not going to be in English and most of it's not going to be Broadway level. It's really something that I miss. And I'm so excited to see a Broadway show every time I'm back in New York. I also really love sports games in the US. I love going to a Mets game, even kids' soccer games. I really think that in the US, people have a good time at a sports game. And I always have a great time when I get to go. Food. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to talk about favorites. Say what you want about American food. I know that a lot of people have a lot of assumptions about how everything is processed and whatever. And to an extent, that's true. But in New York, you can get food from every single country in the world right next to each other. So you can have Korean for dinner, have a drink at a Thai place, go for El Salvadorian, go for anything you want. Really, like every country in the world's food is represented. And it's not just represented in some fake way. Like in Portugal, sometimes you'll go to a quote Mexican restaurant, but it's really just Indian food cooked by Indian people. And it's completely Indian food. The fajitas are really just chicken chaslik. And there's a lot of that going on where you're kind of like, is this Mexican? Has anyone who's ever been to Mexico ever tasted this food? In New York, the person who's cooking your Mexican food is from Mexico and grew up in Mexico and cooked in Mexico. The person who's cooking your Mongolian food is from Mongolia. And you really do get authentic food that, in my opinion, is often very delicious. New York's also expensive. So most of these restaurants that aren't very good don't survive.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of food in the United States. I know Liz is talking about the multicultural experience and the variety of cuisines, but I think that even generic American food is its own experience. Going to Red Lobster and having the Admiral's Feast is really not a highlight of eating food that you're ever going to sort of remember with great love and fondness, but it's got its own uniqueness in its experience. So they have Cheddar Bay biscuits, which are like super delicious and really not high quality and really not good for you, but super delicious. And Gray's Papaya hot dogs, which are not leading the way in terms of Michelin stars, but they're comforting and yummy. And I love a dollar slice as well.
You love all of the chains. Like Ryan loves Olive Garden and Cheesecake Factory and Applebee's. I've gone to more of those chains since taking Ryan with me on these trips to the US than I ever did before.
I have no shame when it comes to that. Cheesecake Factory is a glorious place where I wish every person had the opportunity to visit. It has a menu that's a small version of a novel, and I will read that novel every time I get the chance to.
And the last thing that I really love in the US are holidays. I think the US does holidays quite well. I know in my family, we always made a big deal of every small holiday, whether it's 4th of July with fireworks and barbecue, Halloween with trick-or-treating and costumes, Thanksgiving with all of the food and friends and family and the obligatory shopping the next day, or Easter with painting eggs and going on egg hunts, or Hanukkah with lighting candles and eating amazing food. I feel like holidays are taken really seriously in the US, and we have these traditions that will be the same every time. And there's something really comforting to me about that.
Yeah, I think the holiday culture in America is super cool because there are so many of them and there's so much culture built around them. So you've got costumes, you've got food, you've got family gatherings, and there's always one to look forward to. So it kind of keeps people looking forward to whatever is next, as well as enjoying each one. One of my favorites as well is Thanksgiving, where I had never experienced Thanksgiving before in South African culture. So to have a day where people get together and the cause for celebration is just the fact that we have so many things to be thankful for. And in celebrating that, we get to just spend that time with each other. It's such a cool holiday to have. I know that there's a big history around it and it becomes a whole complicated and political thing, but that's not what I'm talking about. I just think that it's so nice that people take the time to give thanks for whatever it is that they happen to have in their lives. And I feel like every culture should have something like that or something similar, yeah.
All right. Well, are you ready for Would You Rather?
I hope I'm ready. Tell me about the countries we're choosing between today.
Today, we have 2 island nations.
Ooh.
We've got the Seychelles
Okay.
and Iceland.
Oh, these are 2 amazing places. Okay, I'm ready. This is going to be tough.
Okay. Would you rather eat a pizza in the Seychelles or in Iceland?
I think that one of the things that's going to play a big role in whatever choices we're going to make for any of these questions is the price of stuff, because island nations tend to be significantly more expensive. And I know that Seychelles and Iceland are really pricey when it comes to these kinds of things. So I would choose the Seychelles for my pizza. Not any particular reason other than maybe the dream of sitting on a beautiful beach eating an overpriced pizza. I could do the same thing in Iceland, but maybe I'd be a bit warmer in the Seychelles. And you?
I feel like neither country is really known for pizza. And when I'm thinking of pizza in either place, I'm not that excited. I feel like I'm going to go Iceland, though, because I think that maybe there is going to be a slightly better pizza culture.
What is pizza culture?
I don't know. Like, people are eating pizza more often? I don't know.
Well, it is more of a European nation, I guess, than Seychelles are. So maybe there are more Italian people there, or maybe there are more people there who enjoy a good piece of pizza. Maybe that's something we'd need to learn for ourselves.
All right, next one. Would you rather go for a hike in Iceland or in the Seychelles?
I would choose Iceland for this because the landscape there is so unique and so special. And whenever I think about the stuff that I saw in Iceland, it always reminds me of what the Earth must have been like millions of years ago. And being able to see that now is really a treat and really something super unique. And I appreciate the lush jungles of the Seychelles. That is gorgeous too. But the specialness of Iceland really jumps out to me. And you?
I'm also choosing Iceland because the last time we were in Seychelles, Ryan got super hurt on our hike. And we hiked through a jungle to a beach, and we hadn't been dating for that long. And he got really hurt and was a man about it and was like, I'm fine. We don't need to stop. It's fine. And obviously just made it worse.
Yes, I fell off the side of an actual mountain and damaged a significant number of ligaments and tendons in my leg, which Liz still helps me with by providing massages on the odd occasion, even to this day. So I think that Iceland might be safer for both of us too.
Next up, would you rather see the wildlife in Iceland or the Seychelles?
That's a really good question. I feel as though most of the wildlife in the Seychelles is in the ocean. And we really enjoyed snorkeling out there. And it's one of my best memories of that country, spending time in the water, looking at the little fishies around the corals. But in Iceland, they have those puffins, they have whales, they have sharks. I think I'm going to go with Iceland on this one. I really enjoy those bigger animals in the ocean.
Yeah, I think I'm agreeing with the whales. I feel like every time you see a whale, it feels like magic. And it's really something to be able to see whales.
I don't know what it is about whales that really gets people going, because whenever I see a whale, I just feel like I'm seeing something so majestic and almost ethereal. You know, it's got this like alien quality about it that it's so unknowable, it's so mysterious, it's so huge.
And it's so rare that I feel like when you see one, you almost feel like you accomplished something. Like, yes, oh my God, do you see it? Do you see it? Do you see it? And there's this huge excitement that comes when you actually get to see one.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, next up. Would you rather ask for directions in Iceland or in the Seychelles?
I think I would ask for directions in Iceland because I'd probably need directions more in Iceland, because the Seychelles Islands are remarkably small. And if you were to walk for half an hour or drive for 15 minutes, in most cases, you'd probably find wherever it is that you're wanting to go anyway. So I would say Iceland, easy.
See, I'm not going Iceland because I feel like those town names are like 40 letters long, and I would not understand what someone meant at all.
That's a good point.
So I would go Seychelles because, yes, it's smaller, and I feel like I probably have less chance of getting lost, which I might or might not be known for getting lost very easily. Next up, would you rather eat the street food in Iceland or in Seychelles?
I would rather eat the street food of Seychelles because they have some delicious preparation methods for very fresh seafood and fish. And they have these markets that happen on odd occasions, on weekly basis, and they cook the most delicious crab and fish curries and stews. And I really enjoy the freshness of the food there. And I don't feel like Iceland is really a mecca for gastronomic experience.
You did love that Icelandic hot dog street food, though.
Well, one of the reasons why I loved it so much was because the price was very reasonable in comparison to the other food that was there, as well as being really decent and comforting, and I enjoyed that. But I would still lean towards island style cooking and eating.
I couldn't agree more. I think the street food that we had in Seychelles was incredible. The fresh seafood, the interesting preparations. I feel like they had a lot of interesting spices and flavor combinations that I hadn't had anywhere else that I really enjoyed.
It's an interesting group of people culturally, and I think it comes out nicely in a lot of their culture. It's a very lively and spicy culture, and you can tell by the food. So I prefer that kind of food myself.
All right. Would you rather live for 3 months in Iceland or in Seychelles?
You go first. You tell me.
Oof. Okay. So I would go Iceland. I think 3 months in Seychelles, I would get cabin fever. And I think it would just feel too small for me. And 3 months I would be itching to get to something a bit bigger and have more city life. So I'm choosing Iceland, where I feel like 3 months I could do an epic road trip and see a lot of the country. And I also would get a lot of those city comforts. Even though Reykjavik isn't huge, it's still a lot bigger than any of the towns in Seychelles.
I would agree with you. I think 3 months in Iceland would be a great opportunity to explore the entire landmass, because you'd be able to go from town to town and spend quality time there. And I'm sure that you'd actually end up seeing a lot of stuff that many people wouldn't ever get the opportunity to see, because very few people spend long stretches there. So being able to experience that country without any real time pressure and being able to explore fully, I think would be really a great experience. I think the Seychelles offers a great experience in terms of the island living lifestyle, but I think I would agree with you that after a few weeks for me, I'd probably want to have some type of different environment to explore.
Next up, would you rather visit for a long weekend in the Seychelles or in Iceland? And I feel like for me, this is perfect Seychelles. A long weekend in the Seychelles is everything I want from the Seychelles. You get to really enjoy the beaches. You get to go on a hike. You get to swim and snorkel and maybe see a second island even, and eat some delicious street food and seafood. I feel like you could really experience the place in a long weekend.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm on the same page.
Next up, do a road trip. Would you rather road trip in Iceland or Seychelles? I feel like this is an obvious answer for Iceland. An Icelandic road trip is a dream for so many people, me included.
Yeah, I think it sounds as if we're slowly putting together a plan for the future, Liz. A 3-month road trip throughout Iceland.
All right, next up, would you rather learn the language of Iceland or the Seychelles?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that being able to speak Icelandic is super cool, and I think you'd probably make a lot of friends at parties pulling out your Icelandic language skills. But I think that Creole might be even more interesting and exotic, and I think being able to communicate in a way that's super unique like that might be my choice.
I think it's a really interesting question because it's two languages that don't have a ton of speakers. And Icelandic, I'm coming back to the fact that a lot of those words have like 40 letters in them. And my fear of that is pushing me toward Creole. But I think you're right. If we were to both speak Creole, it would almost be like a secret code, because I feel like we could go anywhere and the majority of people would not understand us.
It would really be cool being able to talk in front of other people without anyone understanding. I think is really cool. We do that with Portuguese in non-Portuguese speaking countries, and it's super useful, especially when someone's like annoying or we need to get out of a situation or leave a party. Being able to switch to Portuguese and exit is really a blessing.
But then there's some Brazilians in the crowd who give us a look because they understand everything we just said.
Yeah, well, you can't always win, I guess.
All right, last up. And this one I'm interested in your answer. Would you rather buy a house in the Seychelles or in Iceland?
I think I would lean towards getting a house in the Seychelles because there's a certain level of quietness to it and the beach vibe, which really appeals to me. So if ever there was the need for me to flee to a particular country, maybe fleeing to the Seychelles wouldn't be such a bad idea because you'd have the ocean, you'd have the beautiful weather, you'd have the amazing people and the great food. And yeah, I don't know if I'm truly convinced of my answer on this one, but I would say Seychelles. What do you think?
I'm going Iceland only because I think we would use it more. And I feel like if we had a house in Iceland, we would be able to pop over and spend a week, come back, pop over again in a different season. And Iceland is so different in the different seasons. Winter versus summer, fall versus spring. It's such a different experience of the place that I think it could be quite nice to be able to just pop in and out.
That's actually a good point because they have direct flights now from Lisbon, so it's not even that far. Maybe that's something that we need to look into, Liz. But that's it for today. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for tuning in and spending this time with us. We really enjoyed having this conversation with you. If you have any thoughts or feelings or ideas, please share them with us. We're on Instagram at expatslisten, or you can email us on expatslisten@gmail.com, and we're always happy to hear from you. And until the next time, keep well. Bye-bye.